You fire off 30 prompt variations, and Midjourney is still rendering number 4, while Nano Banana already handed you all 30. That speed gap is real, and it changes how you work. Nano Banana is built for speed and iteration. Midjourney is built for artistic polish. And which one fits your workflow is what I'm actually going to figure out here. Alright, so test 1 is output quality. The day your image tool fails a complex prompt, you're regenerating the same shot 5 times and burning credits. Ella Marina has scored thousands of blind comparisons, and the GenEvil and T2i comp bench numbers give us a hard look at how well each model actually follows a detailed, multi-element prompt. I looked at 3 numbers: Ella Marina, Elo, GenEval, and T2i comp bench. Nano Banana sits at Elo 1284, which puts it at number 1 on the leaderboard, with Midjourney right behind at 1270. On GenEval, Nano Banana scores 0.91 versus Midjourney's 0.87, and on T2i Comp Bench, it's 0.84 versus 0.80. Every metric points the same direction, though the margin is narrow enough that your personal taste and aesthetics still matters. Okay, so the honest caveat is that some of these scores are vendor reported for Nano Banana and community reported for Midjourney, so the methodology isn't perfectly identical across all 3. Across 3 separate metrics all pointing the same way though, the direction is clear. Nano Banana is the safer pick on raw quality because the downside of betting on the wrong tool is wasted prompts and a worse final image. Nano Banana takes test 1 on output quality. I expected this to be closer given Midjourney's reputation, but the leaderboard data puts Nano Banana at number 1 with a 14-point Elo lead, and the composition benchmarks back that up. That's Nano Banana 1, Midjourney 0. I only know that Elo gap matters because I've been running these image tools daily long enough to feel when a leaderboard number actually shows up in real work. Drop a comment if the quality gap surprised you too. Test 2 is generation speed. A 1024 by 1024 image is the standard working resolution, and if you're iterating on a concept, you might run 50 variations in a session. At 10 to 15 seconds a pop, that's 12 minutes of waiting just to see your options. At 2 to 3 seconds a pop, you're done in under 2 minutes, and that gap compounds fast when you're literally hammering it. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Watch what happens at scale. Nano Banana generates a 1024 by 1024 image in 2 to 3 seconds. Midjourney takes 10 to 15 seconds for the same output, which is a community-known pain point for anyone running rapid iteration workflows. That makes Nano Banana roughly 5 times faster, and the practical consequence is that you can test way more ideas in the same sitting without the weight breaking your flow. Nano Banana wins generation speed, and it's not subtle. I didn't expect a 5 times gap, but that's what the data shows, and it makes Nano Banana the clear pick for iteration-heavy work. That puts it 2 to 0. Okay, test 3 is pricing and credits. The failure mode here is the surprise bill. You start with what looks like a cheap tool, generate a few hundred images, and suddenly you're paying way more than you budgeted. The number that matters is this. Nano Banana charges 0.039 per image on the API, while Midjourney's entry plan runs a flat monthly fee for 200 images, and where the winner flips depends entirely on your volume. I ran the numbers, and here's what I found. For a casual user making fewer than 200 images a month, Midjourney's flat subscription is simpler and often cheaper than paying per image. At higher volume, Nano Banana's $0.039 per image wins on unit cost, and Nano Banana has a free tier through the Gemini API capped at a handful of requests per minute, while Midjourney gives you only about 25 trial images before the paywall hits. Midjourney takes pricing for casual users because a flat monthly bill is just easier to plan around. than a per-image meter when you're not generating at scale. That brings the score to Nano Banana 2, Midjourney 1. So Nano Banana is ahead on points, but style control and platform access are still on the table. And both of those could matter a lot depending on how you actually work. Style control in particular is where artists who live inside Midjourney's aesthetic have the strongest case for sticking with it, so let's see if the data backs that up. Test 4 is style control and consistency. The failure mode is a character that looks different in every frame, or a style that drifts when you tweak one element of the prompt. And for illustrators and brand designers, that inconsistency kills the whole project. Midjourney's cref and sref flags are dedicated tools for locking this down, while Nano Banana handles it through natural language editing and multi-reference workflows. I ran this one twice because the tools approach the problem so differently. Nano Banana's natural language editing is more flexible for prompt-driven changes, so you can say, make the lighting warmer, and it just does it. Midjourney's sref and cref give you repeatable, reference-pinned control over style and characters, which is more rigid but also more predictable for artists who need the same character across dozens of images. Style control is split down the middle. Nano Banana wins on flexibility, Midjourney wins on character consistency, and the approaches are genuinely different enough that neither one is objectively better for every workflow. Score stays Nano Banana 2, Midjourney 1, one tied. Test 5 is platform and limits. The failure mode here is building a workflow around a tool and then hitting a wall because it doesn't have an API or a free tier to prototype with. Midjourney lives primarily on Discord and the web, while Nano Banana runs through the Gemini API with a free tier that lets developers plug it into an app before spending a single dollar. Nano Banana's API and app availability is broader. Midjourney's Discord first model is polished for consumers, but it's a walled garden for anyone trying to integrate it into a product. Nano Banana's free tier is a real accessibility win for developers, and Midjourney gives you roughly 25 trial images before you have to pay, which I couldn't find a way to stretch far enough to actually evaluate the tool for a real project. Nano Banana wins platform and limits cleanly. I didn't expect the free tier gap to be this stark, but 25 trial images versus open API access at no cost is a real difference for developers and anyone who wants to test before committing. That brings the final score to Nano Banana 3, Midjourney 1, one tied. Okay, so here's where Nano Banana is just better. It's number 1 on the LM Arena leaderboard at ELO 1284. It generates in 2 to 3 seconds versus 10 to 15. It has a free tier and full API access, so you can build with it today at zero cost. And its natural language editing lets you tweak images conversationally instead of fighting with flags. And here's where Midjourney is genuinely better. The flat monthly subscription is way simpler for hobbyists who want a predictable bill. The cref flag is still the gold standard for keeping a character consistent across a long project. And Midjourney's aesthetic has a distinctive, polished look that a lot of artists specifically want and can't quite replicate elsewhere. If you're iterating fast, building on an API, or just want to try without paying, Nano Banana is the pick. If you're an artist who needs bulletproof character consistency and a predictable flat bill, Midjourney is still worth every cent. One thing the docs don't spell out, Midjourney's cref character reference only works within Midjourney's own image ecosystem. If you generate a character in Nano Banana and try to port that reference into Midjourney's cref workflow, the consistency breaks down and you're locked into whichever tool you started the character in. So pick your tool before you build a character library. Now, if you're curious how Midjourney stacks up against another strong challenger in the same artistic space, I did a full breakdown called Ideogram versus Midjourney. Which is better? And the results there are pretty interesting, especially on text rendering inside images, which is a whole different conversation.